All right, guys, I'm going to share a personal story with you. And by the end of this, when you first hear this, you're probably going to think I'm a really bad dad, a really bad leader, and you may even be shocked at what I'm about to share. But by the time we get to the end, you're going to realize how this directly applies to your life and how you can look around and see how it applies to other people's lives and really how much truth is really in this. And it's going to have you question what you do on a daily basis. So just a few hours ago, I was at the mall with my family, and I guess to give you the preface to this is that we've been giving our children allowance here for I think a little over a year now, and the way it works is they divide it up, and the outcome of this is that they learn money management from basically the ages of when they were 6, 8, and 10 is when we started, and they start to learn money management at those ages because that gets pounded into their subconscious mind, and by the time they're adults, they're not making stupid decisions like the majority of humanity makes when they get money. Like the lottery winners, they get all this money and they're literally bankrupt, way more than half of them, like 80% or something. I don't remember the exact numbers. The vast majority of all lottery winners, which also vast majority of like rock star. I was just I'm not going to share what movie star this is, but it's someone like one of the biggest movies of all time, that like 95% of all you're going to know exactly who I would be talking about. But this is a person new to money. They did awesome in the movie. They went from like nobody knew their name to like everybody knew their name overnight. And someone that worked extremely close with them is someone I know. And they were like, dude, that person is screwed. And I was like, what are you talking about? They're like all of a sudden hundreds of millions of dollars and all this stuff. And they're like, they're going to wreck their life. And this is a person who has worked around very famous actors and athletes and like high level people all around the world. And I'm talking like literally personally know them, literally sitting in the car with me, shared this story about how this person's life is wrecked. And I was like, dude, what do you mean by that? I totally didn't understand it all. And it's like, he's watched this happen so many times. More often than not, people screw up their life when they go from very little money to a ton very quickly. Because there's all these lessons to learn with managing a larger amount of money. So those are the lessons I'm instilling in my children right now. And here's where the shocking part is going to come in. So they get money per week. It's actually $1 per week per age. So my oldest son is the star of today's story, or of the first story of today. And he, 11 years old. So what happens is he gets $11 a week, but that is divided into 4 different buckets. And the buckets I'll just quickly tell you, they are charity or tithing or giving is 25% of it. The next bucket would be, and the buckets are all the same except for there's a bigger one which is like long-term savings. So that's another one of the ones is savings. Then there is, it's so funny, I created this system, I forgot. Oh, investment. So we're teaching him to put 25% of his money, invest it back into things that are going to basically produce income or business and things like that. And then the last one, and I say the last one because they pay themselves last, and that's the money to do whatever they want. Well, that's the one that came into question today. So he basically gets $2.75 a week to like do whatever he wants. Anything in the world obviously has to be approved by mom and dad and stuff. We're not letting him buy like crazy whatever, porn or something. So he doesn't even ask about that, thank God, not yet at least. So there's never anything they want to buy that they can't buy. Besides like crazy knives and stuff in the store. My boys were actually looking at knives today. It was really funny. So we're in a store, we're in this toy store, and my oldest son, like he has his wallet with him, and he actually just had his birthday as well. So, and birthdays screw up the whole system because all of a sudden they get like 20, 30, 40 bucks like to spend wherever they want. And originally they were supposed to divide that into 4 buckets, and we just haven't like followed through with that. So their little $2.75 per week looks really piddly compared to like, dude, I'm rich, I have $30. So I don't even know what he just got his birthday. I didn't even pay attention, but he's at the mall, he has his wallet, all this stuff. We're in this toy store, and I'm in there, and I'm literally like, within earshot of him. He's doing all on his own. He has to talk to the cashier. He has to do all this stuff all on his own. Now here's where enter the jerk of a dad. All right, so check this out. So I overhear my son. I saw him. He had this little fight. I wish I should have brought this so you could see it. He had this little fighter jet, and it was cool, like this little fighter jet thing. You know, kids, plastic, blue, little blue jets. Like I said, Navy on it. It's cool. It's like an F-15 or whatever it was. So I see him with that in his hand, and I don't know what else he's doing. And I bought this like gigantic Frisbee thing that we were getting like as a family. And I'm trying to leave, and he's like, "Oh no, I'm gonna buy stuff." I'm like, "Oh, cool, buddy. So do your thing." So he's like. He's within earshot. I can hear, you know, I'm always aware, or I'm almost always aware of where my kids are at and everything. And I realized he's walking up to go buy his jet, and I didn't know he had something else with him. And I was paying attention to my other kids, and my wife's like out, like she was taking a little break from the family for a second. No, she was just chilling out in the middle of the mall waiting for us. And I overhear the cashier, she says something like, I honestly don't even know what she said, but because my subconscious mind just knew something had happened with my son. I was like, oh crap. So I kind of like go up there and I look, and he had got the jet thing, and then he also got this little Lamborghini. And he didn't have enough money to get both things. And they were like $7 or $8 each. The total's like 15 or something. And he didn't have enough money. And I thought it was like not enough for tax or whatever, but he didn't even have enough money to just buy the things without any tax, or he just didn't do his math correctly. And so my very, very first reaction, like she's ringing him up, and I'm like, dude, just I'll buy that right now. And I literally, like, I reach, where the hell's my money clip? It's not even down here. So I reach in my pocket and I go, I'm gonna buy this for him. I'm just like literally gonna go buy the car, because he chose the jet over the car because he could only get one, is what she told him. And I heard something going on. I didn't know the whole deal, but I saw her put the car behind the counter, and he had the jet, and I real quickly just figured out he couldn't get everything he wanted. So I go over there, I'm pulling out my money, I'm literally about to just buy the car. I'm like, dude, he's like, it's close enough, I'll just have him give the money or whatever, and I'll pay the extra $1 or $2. And I realized the very lesson of today, and it's something that, it's what's held me back as a leader in a lot of different areas of my life, but it's also something I've been very conscious of for the last 3 or 4, or more conscious of, a growing consciousness around this over the last 3 or 4 years. And that consciousness stepped in right in the middle of this. I'm about to buy the car for him because he could only buy the jet. And I realized, like, dude, look what just happened, Jason. This is all my internal dialogue going on. This all happened in like 3 seconds, maybe 5 seconds. It was super fast. And I realized, first of all, he made a choice. He didn't have enough, and there's a lesson to be learned. Everything happens for a reason and a purpose, and is here to serve us. And I realized in that second, he made a choice, the jet more than the car. He liked the jet more than the car. So that was like my first clue, like, actually this is pretty cool. It was making him make a choice between stuff he wanted to get. And I wanted to be like the hero dad jumping in, but I was like, wait, I have to be the dickhead dad right now, and because there's a lesson to be learned here. And dude, it was seriously hard. And I realized very quickly, I even said something like, this is actually a good lesson. I said that out loud to my son. I think the cashier heard that. And I could tell, I was very closely watching his face, all his body language. You know, I've been studying NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. I understand different eye patterns to look for, different body language, shoulders, head, eyes, what's his breathing doing, what's his breathing patterns, what's his voice doing. I'm literally soaking in everything, like very much paying attention to my son's entire world. And I can tell this didn't shatter him, it didn't break him, a little disappointed, but he was like, yeah, I didn't have enough money, I get it. Like, because he didn't even know I was gonna go pay for it. And I still felt I had that, you know, guilt or whatever it is from like years past. I just want to give my kids everything. But here's the lesson. When you give people everything, you cripple them. And I don't want to cripple my oldest son. And he has lessons learned, and he needed to learn this lesson today. And I feel the tears right now, like they're dual-sided, where part of it's like the tears of me inspiring myself of like, dude, good job, Jason, you taught this lesson. The other part is like, dude, I wanted to get that for him so bad. It's not like I didn't have enough money. I like a lot of cash around, tons and tons of cash. I could have bought me 100 cars. So it was no big deal. The amount of money had nothing to do with it. The amount of money in my son's world had a little bit to do with it. The lesson of him making a choice had even more to do with it. And the biggest thing was I realizing I was going to cripple him. He can't get everything he wants wherever he goes. Even if he has billions of dollars, he can't just get whatever he wants. Because he has to learn those lessons. And he's only 11, dude. And I know these are hard lessons, but you know what? The vast majority of high performers in the world, they tend to do better if they were raised with 1 or 0 of their birth parents. And the reason is because they have to learn from an early age, like, dude, they're kind of on their own. The world's not this amazing place. Like, you got to fight for stuff. And my parents are still married. They're both still alive. And I had like a very, sheltered but a good childhood. And they gave me tons of stuff, especially as they had more means to. But I also realized like where that could have crippled me, and where I feel super fortunate, because I could have been like a spoiled little like jerk, easy. And I guess some lessons came from them and certain influential coaches and teachers and stuff that, like, even though they allowed me to have certain, like, financially, like my first car, I'll just admit, I didn't buy my car. They bought it for me. I paid for gas and like to take care of it and everything, but they like hooked me up. But then it was easier after that, because then like my other siblings, like coming up, we already had a car around, so we just had to figure out how to get another car and like all this kind of stuff. So as rude as I felt, I realized there was a lesson my son had to learn. And here's where this is super important, that all of us learn from this lesson. So did I cave? No, I didn't cave, and the car's still at the store, and he only got the jet. So I feel really good about that. The really important thing, and this, I realized this like as the hours have passed since then, more and more, and especially when I was prepping to do this video. By the way, Jason Cardamone here. I know you guys know that if you're still here, but we're on day 10 of this big value splurge. I'm going 90 days straight cranking out tons of value to you guys. And I was prepping for today's value, or the second session of today, because I already did one this morning. Probably tell by the yellow shirt again that, or maybe I've just been wearing this a few days in a row, and you'll never really know that. So the lesson's uber important, because it's what held. There are teams I've had in the past where I just gave people like everything, including really close friends of mine that I've just given things to, including people on my team that I just gave like free access to me. Now there's a time and a place for that, but there's also a time and a place where you're just giving and you're giving way too much, where people don't respect. And I want you to think about the stuff you've got, and the times in your life where someone just like gave you a book, for example. I've been given books by mentors, and they know I love books. So it's not a problem in my world because of where I value like education and knowledge and books and things. But there are other people that I've given, literally like bought nice $20, $30 hardcover books where $50, and handed it to people, and they've never cracked the cover. And it's because they have a different value system around what a book means, but it's also because they didn't have any skin in the game. Like my son had some major skin in the game today, and that meant a lot to him. And so in the past, I created a system I've created a lot of systems for teams over the years, but there's a particular team where at the time I put out the system, it started, we were like 500, 800 members or so. And I put our initial system, it was pretty like, chunked together, nothing like crazy amazing. But then I really put a lot of time and money and expertise, and this system was responsible for duplicating out a team of like 25, 30,000 people in this single team. And that's just in the first 5 levels of the team. I don't know what happened below that, but we did trace it down, going down 30 levels deep. Literally, I traced it. I was on the phone, talked to this person in position 5. Hey, dude, who's someone you know like down here? Oh, here's their contact info for someone down in their 5th level, which would be my 10th level, which means I brought in one person who brought in number 2, who brought in number 3, 4, 5, talking to 5. 5 gave me, brought in number 6, who brought in number 7, 8, 9. We did that down 30 levels deep in a team. And that was years and years ago, and God knows how many levels deep, and it's crazy. It's way bigger than 30,000 people now. But that was because of the system that we put into place. That's how good the system was. And some of you guys may have heard of something called MLSP or My Lead System Pro. This was head-to-head competing with them way back when they were first started. And I think I was even out before they were. And but they did things a lot smarter than me. And I held hands a lot more. And we had we had the highest customer service in the industry. It's why people would stay around and use the system forever. But here's the difference. My Lead System Pro, even way back then, they were charging like 40 or 50 bucks a month. My system started at 10 bucks a month. And there was a point, I actually went to a Frank Kern thing in the middle of June of 2010. And one of the guys there on state, really famous copywriter, and he was like, dude, immediately double any services, any products you have, immediately charge double and watch your numbers, and you're probably going to make way more. Well, I did that and I instantly doubled it to 20. We were still a fraction of the price of like one of the industry leaders, so to say. But what was crazy interesting is how fast we were growing within that system. But also, when I doubled the price, literally nothing changed. In fact, our sales went up from that point. And here's the reason why that worked. It's because they saw a $10 system. Somebody would join our team, they thought they're getting a $10 system. Here's what's gonna blow your freaking mind. That $10 system that people would get in, and it had, dude, I did a webinar every week for 3 years straight. So we had over 150 webinars. None of them were shorter than an hour. And I literally would miss 1 or 2 per year, usually somewhere around Christmas holidays or just random things throughout the year, like something crazy happens and I can't make it on a Tuesday night. But over 150 live webinars that were in our back office that were like 1 to 3 hours each. Mega, like the level of content you guys are getting on these videos, step by step. Here's how I do solo ads. Here's what I would do with subject line. It was literally step by step marketing training, Q&A every single week for 3 years straight. So that was only a little piece of the back office. For 10 bucks a month, does people get all that? And plus it was a 7-day free trial, by the way, too. So they come in, 7-day free trial, then 10 bucks a month. Here's what happened. The majority of people would come in, they get a free system. Oh, it's a free trial. They mess around for 7 days, and then they either pay $10 or what turned into $20 a month, or they don't pay it at all and they just drop out because they didn't have any skin in the game. $10 or $20 a month is nothing to the vast majority of everybody. The vast majority of everybody in a first world country, I'll put it that way. What's interesting, there are people that were in second, third world kind of situations. They worked their asses off and they totally respected what was in that system. Super interesting. Now here's where it gets crazier. There are courses out there selling for $500, $1,000, $2,000. I had people within our system, they're paying 10, 20 bucks a month, or they dropped out. They go out, they pay $1,000, they pay $2,000 for courses. Then they do a refund over there, they come back and join my thing for 10, 20 bucks a month. And you know why? Because they realized our shit for 10 or 20 bucks a month, or we had a one-time offer, they'd be offered for $150, $147, $149 a year, something like that. They would, per year, and they would recharge every full year, they would get that. Way, way, way better than the crap they're buying for $2,000. And I'm super proud of that, but that was totally by design. There was crap tons of sweat and blood and tears and heart and knowledge and skills just poured into that entire system. It was beautiful. That's why our team got so damn big. And so it's one of the reasons. Plus, surrounding, like teaching good, we had leadership in there. We had communications training. We had marketing training. We had, I said leadership. We had marketing training being broken down into like free and paid marketing, including SEO, including social media, including pay-per-click, including solo ads, including something we call list builders, including a couple other things I can't even think of right now. But dude, it was like ridiculous hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of literally, here's where you go. You click on the green button, you do this, it was literally step by step, the vast majority of the entire system. So that's why it works so good. But here's the entire lesson. It's the lesson my son learned. And it's also it wasn't just in that way I was holding my teams back for a lot of years. Even my leaders would call me freaking 3 in the morning. I'd answer my phone and walk them through something. But here's what was really happening. Some of the leaders maybe didn't have all the skin in the game they needed. Maybe they didn't really try to work it out on their own first. Maybe they didn't have the struggle like my son did at the cash register. And so they didn't go through the struggle. So they didn't respect the answers they were getting, and then maybe they didn't take action, and maybe they were crippled moving forward. Maybe they went on to success, which tons of them did, but maybe it wasn't the success they really deserved because they didn't have all the skin in the game. They didn't build the foundations they needed, just exactly like all my kids are learning how to manage money at a young age. They didn't learn how to manage their business, their leadership, their teams, themselves, their own mindset, the most important thing. They didn't go through the lessons because I was like the overprotective leader, like, oh, dude, I got your back, do that, got your back. I always had everybody's back. And what happened is I was on the phone and emails all day long, every day, and I just turned into a big customer service rep. And I'm damn good at that. And I did that as a leader, and I've always practiced servant leadership, and I always will, but I wasn't choosing the right battles. So instead of I would take lessons from like one particular leader and usually turn that into like some kind of group lesson when I was being smart. But there's far too many days where I'd be on the phone and I'd take 10, 20, 30 calls and spend 20, 60 minutes, 3 hours with each person all day long. And then there's no day left over, unless it was a Tuesday night for one of the webinars, to do things that were going to impact a lot of people. And I was crippling the people I was talking to because I was overprotecting, over-sheltering, over-training them. Now, not in all cases. Now, if they'd done the work and done the struggle, that's when I would like lock arms, just hold their hand and literally do whatever it took with them. But there's far too many times where they hadn't gone through the lessons. They hadn't even done the Google searches. They hadn't tried. They hadn't hit the brick wall. They hadn't even spent the money on, dude, I don't want to mess up. Where do I spend my first $10? Dude, go spend a couple $100, then let's talk. Because if there's zero action taken and they don't even know anything about the landscape and they're just like stuck in analysis paralysis, they have other lessons that are way more important than like, where should they put their $10 ad budget? That's not a good place for me to help them. And in fact, I'm crippling them by giving them like an exact roadmap too early, because then they don't know how to course correct and create their own roadmap as they're moving forward. Just like my son wouldn't know what it's like to go into a Best Buy and, dude, damn, I can't afford both of these giant TVs. How do I make the choice of which one I really want? Just like I've had to make in times of my life, unlike just in the past couple years, specifically around the holidays. I was the reason I chose Best Buy, because I was in a Best Buy with my family, and I walked in there, we were going everywhere, and I realized everywhere I went, I could literally buy anything in the entire store, and it was a fraction of money we had in the bank. And then I realized, holy crap, I can get one of these, I can get a giant ass, the best TV they have for like several rooms in our house. And I started dreaming a little bigger because we had the means to do that. It would have taken like most of our means to like fill the whole house with like giant screen TVs and I'm talking about the $20,000 ones, guys, not like the little couple $1,000 ones or whatever. I'm talking about like the giant mega like beast TVs. And I just remember if I hadn't had the lessons of like how to properly manage my money, if I hadn't filed bankruptcy in 2005 and learned the lessons, because the things that led into that bankruptcy were like maxing out a couple credit cards. Things that led into that were like dealing with a sharky freaking, you guys know the real estate crash in 2007 or 8 or whatever? Well, leading up to that, guess what? They gave me a totally fake appraisal on my home through the guy's sister. He did a fake appraisal on the home, bumped it up by like 20%, gave me like basically $30,000 out of a home that was only, my townhome was worth $200K. They appraised it at $230K and gave me the whole $30K extra right before I was going into bankruptcy. It was all like total smoke and mirror crap, but I didn't know how to handle that. You know what? The first thing I did, now this was a really smart investment. I went to Costa Rica with my now wife when we were like in the middle of like kind of struggling with things, and it really like, that was like, thank God I did that, because I wouldn't have my children and I would have a totally different life. That was smart, but that was like a piece of the 30,000. The other 30,000, I don't know what the hell I did with it, but it wasn't smart. Some of it I sat on because we needed it, and I lost job and to like figure all this stuff out. But I totally didn't just blow it all on like stupid stuff. But I definitely wasn't super protective of it either, and I wasn't super smart with that. And if I would have walked into Best Buy and saw a $5,000 or $10,000 big screen TV, I probably would have bought that if I cared about that back then. And so there's so many lessons. I'm grateful. That's why my bankruptcy was one of the best moments of my whole life, even though at the time it was one of the worst. Why today? Because that allowed me in the past couple of years to walk into a Best Buy, have the means to go just ape shit till I literally just go crazy. Like the home theater I've always wanted, totally could have built that whole bad boy out easily. And I'm like, dude, I don't play around when it comes to audio and video. And so I could have invested the 40, 50 grand I wanted into my home theater, and I could have done it that very day and planned. I would have had a blast, man. Would have had a total blast. But that wouldn't have been very smart with my finances, because it turned out in the year after that I needed some of that because of changes in income, and that opened doors because I had that ability to survive on some of the money that we had created. That was like, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. All the same doors wouldn't have been open at all, because I wouldn't have had the money to afford. Some of those doors I had to like do basically with zero income. Like work on projects and work with people for free, so to say. They weren't paying me anything. I wasn't making any money from it for future prospects of what I was doing. And all those things, all those doors opening, all the stuff, all the lessons, and the free systems. By the way, I would never offer a system now for 10 or 20 bucks a month. And the way I did that, not a chance in hell. That thing was worth thousands of dollars to people, and I wasn't going to charge people like 1,000 right up front. I should have, but what I should have been doing is immediately charging them. Honestly, I should have charged them about $197 right up front, and then some kind of follow-up series. And I should have locked out parts of the system where they get in for like 200 bucks. They get parts of the stuff, enough to get them going and get cranking. Then I should have saved some parts that was like another $1,000 or something like that. Or if we wanted to do, by the way, guys, I didn't get all that money as an affiliate program. So what most people don't know, so the $20 system, straight off the top, $10 of that went right back to the affiliate that referred somebody in. So half of it's gone immediately, like tax 50%. In my world, in there, I did this on purpose because I wanted to hook up my affiliates big time, which were the team. That's another reason why our team like started blowing up, because other people, they would keep like the majority of all the money, and like there's not really a lot of incentive or an income stream for them. So that provided a consistent income stream for people in the team. Then, so there's about 10 bucks left, right? I get 10. No, I don't. I have taxes on top of that. Those were the smaller part of it. I had the huge dedicated servers, the infrastructure, all the stuff to run the freaking system. And I also had, there were $2 out of every, was it $2? Yeah, $2 out of every transaction taken for some of the payment processing, plus PayPal fees. So what was left over after everything before taxes was like $6 left, $6.50 or something. Then you take tax out of my part of it. Basically, there's like $5 left. So the affiliates get 10. Now they got to figure out taxes on their end too. So they like take a little bit off of that. But I pay for all this other stuff, and there's basically $4 or $5 left on my end. Now what's cool, when it came through an affiliate, that was $4 or $5 in my world. I didn't have to go out and get. But here's where I messed up. I didn't throw it all back in the system, and that's what My Lead System Pro, they did do that. So at the beginning, we were like no problem, like totally providing equal value for like less than half the cost of them. But you fast forward like a year down the road, and I'm not taking that $5, or if I personally referred them, I wasn't taking my like 12 or 15 bucks and putting it right back in the system and hiring other programmers and hiring other people of my own caliber. Because suddenly I look at My Lead System Pro and they have like 7, 8, 10 Jasons. And I'm like, oh, well, dude, how can I compete with like 10 of myself? I can't. And all those now, you know, their system became much better than my system over that time period. So, because they were way smarter with the way they handled it. Now, dude, this was like years ago. I was doing this back in like 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 range. So basically about 5 years there was that. And that system came from another system I created before that was similar. We stole a lot of our technology, or my technology. I stole to myself, but greatly improved it into this like just killer system. That I wasn't charging enough, and because of that, a lot of like literally thousands of people never really gave that system what they should have, because it really would have blessed and changed their life in much, much bigger ways. But thank God I didn't make the same mistakes with my son in the store today. So I want you to really realize, if you're the kind of person, or you may know somebody, or you've probably seen this happen somewhere, where somebody's always like, dude, just hook me up, like give me free and all this other stuff. Even you asking for something for free, it's a complete poverty mindset. And it's you telling yourself there's not an abundance of money around and that you don't deserve that. It's really why, like, I almost never ask for access to stuff, even from like friends and stuff. I like pay for things. I was a lot of you guys know like the whole WooCard thing. I was a big part of in 2014 and 15. Well, we had a system at one point in there, and it was like 20, 40 bucks a month or whatever. And I'm like in the inner leadership team of like a dozen of us. And I literally was the very first person. Like as soon as we had the link, I immediately paid. And it wasn't a big deal, 20, 40 bucks a month, whatever it was. That the money didn't matter. The principal part to me mattered. And I wasn't sitting there like, dude, can I get a link for free and all this stuff? I didn't care. I wanted to keep it. Even when Matt told me like, oh, dude, you guys don't need to pay. Just cancel your subscriptions or whatever. I didn't care. I kept paying. And I paid it all the way through until we had people stop paying for it. And that's a small example of I'm always looking to like, I always try to buy the stuff. I mean, I do, and I have a ton of awesome friends, and I do get hookups, especially like if I'm trying to kick the tires on like a $5,000 system and I don't want to throw out $5K, sometimes I get back doors and stuff and I get to check things out. But if it's something that I'm going to like jump into and take serious, then I will go pay the $5 and not just like keep my little free thing. Sometimes I will, but the vast majority I dive in, and because I want to really respect, and I want to tell my subconscious and my body, my nervous system and everything like, dude, this is worth $5,000. You better take this serious. Don't be playing around. So when I do that, I literally like take it, dude, I paid $5,000 for this. I paid $10,000 for this, whatever it is. I'm taking this thing seriously. So guys, that's all about providing value to people. This is all about really providing value, not by giving them everything in the world and potentially crippling people. Give them everything. Be a top servant leader, but you don't always give them everything. You give them enough to help them move on, but you want to create independent leaders. You don't want leaders that aren't real leaders because they need you for everything. Because you have to build your legacy what if you're not there? How would my system work if I wasn't there? It would be screwed. I finally put some systems in place where it kind of like chunk along, but even our Tuesday webinars we did for all those years, those wouldn't have worked without me around. I even tried to get leaders to step up, and man, I wasn't committed to it. I didn't make it follow through, and none of the leaders cared about following through, and I take responsibility. I didn't cast the vision. They didn't care about the vision, and I didn't care about it enough to like explain that and show the vision to them. So they were like not enrolled, and like, who cares about the long term? Who cares about the webinars? No big deal. Jason will just cover them. So I've really been mindful around building things around, what if I'm not here? What is my family going to do when I'm not here? What if I weren't here? What if I don't make it through the night tonight? What are they going to do starting tomorrow? Are they going to be okay for a little bit? For lifetimes? Are my children's grandchildren's grandchildren going to be okay? Right now, well, they might be okay, but not by anything I've done. Maybe, if anything, through the lessons I've tried to instill into my children, and who knows how much gets passed on. I don't know. I can't control that stuff. I can't control really anything. We can't control anything. It's not in our hands. But we definitely can make major influences on things. And financially, and more importantly, psychologically and everything, I can really build amazing bases for them to pass on down the generations, just like I'm attempting to do with you, just like I attempt to do with my mission statement, and really what I wake up with the first things on my mind every day. Videos just like this, pouring out everything I can think of around how do I leave a lasting, deep impact in people's lives, and that people means in your life, and help you bring out your gifts so you can really shine in this world, and how you can apply these lessons not just to other people, but even to yourself, and realize, are you crippling yourself? Do you always ask for help way too much? Do you always ask questions like, I actually have somebody right now, and I bet you they're not watching this. I have somebody that messages me almost every single day, and they ask me some of like the silliest questions ever that have nothing to do with their life, and they're just being nosy. And I also know it's part of they're trying to create a relationship, but they're doing it in a way that's making them look really bad. And they're doing that because they don't know how to help themselves. So instead of like guys, I'm not joking, going to Google the simplest little thing, they'll ask me instead. Now, part of that, I believe my hallucination is that in their world, in their perspective, they want my help with something, and so they want to create a relationship, so they're just trying to open a door, but they're not thinking of, is this damaging the relationship? Because what they're really doing is making themselves look like they're completely helpless and really not very intelligent. And I know they're an intelligent person. I know they are, but some of the questions, like, dude, seriously, you can't take 10 seconds. Like, I'm not wasting my time with you anymore. And so I have to find the right ways to continue to communicate. Like, dude, you need to step up and stop like asking all these silly questions and just being silly about things. Like, dude, either get serious or just go away. So, and I would have never done that in the past years leading up to now. Never, never, never. Because I'd be afraid, oh, is that going to offend them? What if they just turn out to be a great leader and all of a sudden they never will if I can't teach them to like, if I leave the training wheels on my kids' bikes forever, can they ever be like an amazing bike rider or racer or do BMX or anything? Hell no. They can't ever if they always leave the training wheels on. So you got to rip people's training wheels off. Sometimes you keep them on. Sometimes you like hold their seat a little bit. Sometimes you need to coach them through it, let them know everything's going to be okay. Sometimes you put like extra big training wheels on. But a lot of times people try to leave those on way too long, and you need to help them remove them and help them see what it's going to be like and test it out and let them go fly on their own, because that's what they're designed to do. Just like that's what you and I are designed to do, is we lock arms together, move forward, and we make all of this beautiful mission and journey and beautiful things in life happen by not crippling other people, by helping them too much. Even if that is hard when you want to pull out the money and pay for the thing, and you have to realize, all right, I'm ending with this. I just thought of the best story. 2006. really, really hurting for money. It's a year out of my bankruptcy. I'm at an event I could barely afford to be at. It's actually here in Colorado. And it's breakfast. Drive all the way down there because I couldn't afford to stay at the hotel like everybody else from Colorado. It's like a 40-minute drive or so. They all stayed down at the hotel and they didn't have to drive home at night and drive back there. So I couldn't afford the hotel. It was like $100 a night or whatever it was, even with their discounts. So I stay up late and I party with them and hanging out and creating all these relationships. Then I have to go home dead tired middle of the night. Then I come back early morning. And so I went down there early to have breakfast because I wanted to be there because I know they're all going to be eating breakfast in the restaurant. Well, I got there really early and one of a big leader was there with another like big leader, a trainer with the company. And they're having breakfast. And I sit down and I didn't want to like intrude because I didn't know how to open up a conversation really. So I just kind of like said hi and I go to sit down and they like invited me to sit with them. I was like, dude, totally, like took it up in a second. So then I order my food and they're like having their breakfast and they were like mostly done with their meal. So like 10, 15 minutes into it, we're all hanging out, you know, it's totally cool. I was super honored like to get to do that. And one of the guys basically pays for the other guy's meal, but he doesn't offer to pay for mine. And he didn't know how much I was hurting at the time. And it was painful. And I needed that money way more than that other. They were both, like, both guys had money, big money. And I needed that so bad because that, like, $10 for the meal at the hotel or whatever, I only went down there. I would have totally eaten at home. I only went down there so I could like try to create more relationships. And I can feel the tears right now and I'm so thankful for this lesson. The tears are the pain. I visualize the whole thing right now. Window behind me, sun was coming in through the window. Guys are sitting right here. He offers to pay for his meal and not mine, and I need it real bad. Way worse than my son needed that car today. And it was a huge stretch for me to pay that 10 or 12 bucks for that meal. And honestly, at the time, I was like, Lord, why is this happening? But I went down there. I wasn't looking at it through this frame at all, but I went down there planning to pay for my meal. I wasn't looking to like have somebody pay for me, but I really needed it. And he paid for it, and my hopes got up, and then he didn't offer to pay for mine. And I mean, who knows what they saw in my, like, I'm really good at like hiding things when I need to, so like probably didn't notice anything, but man, that hurt deep. And I wasn't mad at him or anything. It was like me mad at like God, mad at the universe, mad at like, and it wasn't even mad. It was like, why me? Or why not me? Why didn't I get that? Like I was like questioning God or something like that. And I am so freaking grateful that he didn't pay for my meal, because that made me struggle and fight for that much more. It made me work that whole day that much more and like focus that extra percentage. It made me be more present. It made me fight through the yawns and being up late the night before and the stupid drive down there and back the night before and everything else. It made me just fight for everything that much more, and it was totally worth it. Every second was. And I'm so grateful he didn't pay for my meal when I was struggling, when I needed it in that moment. And I've seen that so many times since, even where I'm definitely like the first guy to like go out and just help people that need it. I help random strangers all the time, and I don't know their story, but there's a lot more situations now where I know somebody's struggling and I could be like, dude, don't worry, I got it. And sometimes I do that, but a lot of times I know they have to be in the struggle because it's basically what's creating that extra layer of armor. And then as they're going forward, that extra armor, they need it because they're going to have some like shit coming at them. Like those big, it's like your rhinoceros skin. You have to grow it even more thicker, or more thick. Arrows and stuff, and even eventually the giant elephant guns, they can't even touch you because your skin's so thick, and you just keep charging right at your goal. And But people have to be able to develop that even when they're in the dumps. And you have to find, guys, I don't have all the answers for sure, because this is really, it's way more, I'm teaching this kind of like a science today. This is way more of an art of knowing when somebody really needs like the handout, or when it's, I'll tell you what was, I had a situation recently. I'm keeping this super generic so nobody ever knows. Because this was like this was an influential person that was really struggling at the time, and I basically offered to do some things for them, and I can't say too much because some people that are watching this will be able to figure this out. And so I offered to pay some things for them, and I offer it in a way, I asked for permission. I'm like, will you allow me to pay for this stuff for you? And I was so grateful. In a second, they were like, I'm not turning that away. I would be super grateful for that. And I was really grateful the way they responded. They didn't play the whole game, no, it's okay, I'm gonna be okay. Like, they literally knew, I know, and part of it's personality and stuff. I know this person super well, and I could tell this isn't a person that's gonna like beg for like help or anything. And the way that they responded to that help, I knew immediately that how much worse they were. I knew they were hurting. In that moment, I was like, dude, they're definitely hurting. And then I was so grateful I even asked, because I didn't have to offer that. I could have let them like struggle through the entire process. So you have to find the right art, and you just have to get to know people even better and better, because there are certain personalities and certain people in certain situations that need help, where a different personality in the exact same situation, you need to not help them to help them the most. Does that make sense? So that's why you have to continually expand your knowledge around understanding people and personalities and communication, and who really needs what and what are they really trying to communicate. Even if they're not really saying anything, maybe you're reading things in their body language. Maybe you see their eyes go in a certain direction when they say something, and that means something to you. Most people don't have a clue about eye patterns. I've just been studying that in the last year, and it's fascinating. I can now watch my children and watch where their eyes are going, and I know what their brain is doing and what they're seeing or hearing or thinking about or feeling. And then that allows me to better communicate and tap in. I'm not like reading their mind, but it allows me to better communicate, where I'm thinking one thing and I get a communication from their eye, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, they're really hurting right now. They're not like making this up. They're in like deep pain. And then I know. But I wouldn't have known that if I didn't know where to look with their eyes or watch their breathing patterns, or like watch what they're doing. You have to be aware of all this stuff. And that's a whole nother, we're not even opening that bag of worms, but that's where part of I guess technically that's some science, like by looking for that stuff. So the whole world is scientific. You don't need to be artistic about anything. Totally not true. My hallucination is that life is completely a balance between science and art, and you weaving your way among the art and the science and finding it is definitely not all logical. Guys, I have computer science and math degree. I'll logically go against anybody in the world. Any kind of high level, any kind of logical stuff, let's go for it. And I also have a major interest in psychology and a major interest in the arts. I freaking love, I could go watch like plays and that kind of stuff like all the time. Symphonies, I freaking love art like no other. So like it really is this amazing balance between the two, and that's how to really be successful at life. But today's lesson was all about, or tonight's lesson, it's all about letting people struggle when they need it. You can't overprotect people, even though there are some people, two different people in the same situation, usually one's going to need a little more protection than the other, or another way to say it, one of them's going to need to be like prodded a lot more than the other, where you might hurt the other one. Like one of them, they need to create more of that shell. I did a whole video on shit and snow cones. One person's had a life full of snow cones, they need a little more shit. The other person, they've had a life full of shit, they need a little more snow cone. And that can change in any given moment, in any situation with any person in the entire world. So you have to that's where the art part comes in and the science, and you have to figure out what situations you have to make those mistakes, and you have to get better and better as you go forward. So guys, hope you enjoyed this. I actually had a good, I forgot what the call to action was going to be. So go learn from this stuff, go apply it. And the call, I remember it now. It was going to be around, I want you to think about ways this is played out throughout your life. Maybe it's playing out right now, or times in your past where you learned a lesson, or there was a lesson to be learned that you missed because you were given something over sheltered or whatever. Somebody paid for your meal, and maybe you haven't even thought of this lesson or looked at it this way, and all the seeds have been planted during all the previous minutes in this video. So now your subconscious mind is pulling up all these things from your past. And maybe it's someone else maybe it's someone really close to you, maybe someone not so close, but you're realizing, and maybe it's going to be something you notice in the coming days and weeks, and you get to look at this and realize dude, I should not help them. I really want to go help them right now, but I got to let them struggle. I really want to go open the door, but I know there's a lesson. I need to leave it. I need to let them go through the struggle on their own. And there's going to be times where you need to go open that door. You need to go do the things for them and help them to just maybe show them kindness or whatever the lesson is. Give them the money, give them the time, give them your heart and emotions, give them your ear just to listen to. Just be present with them. Allow them to have a conversation, even if you don't care at all about the subject. And that's all they needed. And maybe that opens up their entire world as they move forward. So that is exactly your homework, is to go basically install this and go use this for the rest of your life. All right. Love you guys. I appreciate you. I believe in you guys. Let's go make this happen. Love ya. We'll see you tomorrow.